Hi there. Um, this video is going to be called I am you, you are me, we are one. And I thought this picture was appropriate. And these kittens here, or probably most kittens, or don't think that the fur that they've got on is better than the other kitten's fur. In fact, they don't seem to notice at all. Right? So the point is that it's not that anyone is racist or anyone isn't. It's that everything has been drummed into us from birth. Right? Everything starts from when you're born, and then your parents are telling you the way the world is, then school, then if you buy into the school program, then you get programmed further education like university, college. And then you end up getting a degree and thinking that you're really clever. And then you wake up one day and you don't really know much. Because the whole idea of the education system is to program you so that you can't see that you're one. So that you're so locked into the game of race and racism, you've forgotten what you are. This is like someone says to me tonight that the educated people are, I think this person was trying to say that some of them can be awake. No, they're not. David Icke says that the hardest audience to talk to this kind of spiritual stuff to is educated people, is people like university students. Because that's why many people that have spiritual awakenings haven't done any of that. I didn't get any degrees. I was kicked out of school at 14. And I had an unexpected spiritual awakening just under 10 years ago, and ever since then it's been relentless knowledge, insights, amazing insights, relentless insights and knowledge, understandings, all the time, amazing journey. And and because what you're tapping into, like I'm talking about oneness, that's what you're tapping into. And this oneness path that I started to become on in the awakening is beyond the person that just repeats things. It's beyond that. It's beyond the university educated person. Because that is basically using a very low level of intelligence where you're just basing everything on thought and repeating. I mean, that's the intelligence of a parrot. That's it. That's the intelligence of a parrot. But then again, a parrot might be more intelligent, because a parrot might not be so stupid as to believe what it's repeating. I mean, I don't know if it's going to really believe in it, but the problem is we believe in what we're repeating. Like I was saying earlier about race, that gets drummed into us. And that's why the media has shifted their attention from coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic, to this, because they had to. It was even caught on camera that the police in America dropped off a van or a truck with bricks so the protesters could get these bricks and cause more riots. It's all arranged. You see, and they were caught on camera doing it. So it's all, and the reason it's all arranged is because people were waking up with the COVID-19. They've got to shift the attention, you see. Right, and the name of the game has always been divide and rule. Right? Animals don't have any perception of like black or white, but we do, because we were programmed to have that perception. And remember, all perception, all perception comes from outward experiences, right? It comes from the information that we receive, right? And so what you've got, and so it's all arranged. The perceptions that people have, and this is why you need a spiritual awakening to wake up. It wouldn't take a massive unexpected spiritual experience if we weren't being programmed, right? If everything was divine and it was an angelic world we were born into, then we would naturally all be very ascended beings. No one would be. It would be a world of oneness, not a world of division. And they're always playing this game of division. They do it with skin color. They do it. You see it in sport. Sport is good because sport really gives you an insight of divide and rule. They put two teams against each other, and that's, if you want to know what divide and rule, go and watch sport. It's in race, it's in religion. When it's the same God they're talking about, everything comes from nothing. So you're dealing with one nothing. It can only be one infinity, nothing of nothing. You're talking about the same thing, arguing over the same thing. But it's always used as divide and rule, because whilst they're fighting over this separation, they can never be free, and they can never really be oneness with each other. And that's why I'm saying if it was a world of oneness, then we wouldn't need a spiritual awakening to wake up. The reason one has to have a spiritual awakening on this planet is because we're not born into a very angelic planet. It's a planet where there's an evil force at the top that is dictating things lower down. And that's why people at the bottom, like these cats here, don't perceive that it's just, they don't even notice the fur, or that it's better or worse. But we do. And that's because, like I say, we've been programmed. Your parents have been programmed before their parents were programmed, and so on and so on. And then you get into this thing where your parents and everyone else around you doesn't think they're doing anything wrong. And they're not, in fact. It's just that someone made up right and wrong, and then they impose that onto everyone else. And how the system controls everybody, they create what's right and wrong, what you shouldn't or shouldn't do, and then they tell everyone else, and then everyone else will impose that even aggressively onto you. And it's like just now as an example of that, you're seeing a lot of people really demanding that you take part in this racism debate and this race and this racism. And if you don't take part in it, if you're like not wanting anything to do with it, you're bad. This is an example of how the system controls people. If you're like a Buddhist of that nature, and you're just wanting to be silent, then program people are thinking that you're bad, you see. But if everyone was silent and shut up and just observe for a moment instead of mouthing all the time, then they would learn more. They would gain more insight into things. They would become meditation. They would start to tune in. Right? And then we would all understand things about ourselves. And the world would change a lot quicker. But you see, that's why the system wants a world of talkers. It doesn't want a world of doers. You see, that's a difference. Big difference there. They don't want awakened people that are in meditation all the time, that are really, their third eye is directing them all the time. And they don't want that. They want a loud world of havoc Because the system is a demonic force that feeds off this havoc energy, this insane energy. And on the planet now, there's a global spiritual awakening happening. I had an unexpected spiritual awakening, as I've said many times, under 10 years ago. And yeah, and it showed me that everything is me. Because I started to perceive how that is, because everything has to come from nothing. Meaning that there's one infinity and you're it. The bodies that we experience aren't who we are. Our names, our religions, all the things that we do is just the life experience. And as you're awakening, you're realizing the true self is, like David Icke says, it's infinite love. Like David Icke says, infinite love is the only truth, everything else is illusion, and that's it. And as you're awakening more and more, as you're going within your heart center, you're tuning in more, deeper and deeper with that force. And everything your whole beingness becomes very euphoric with love. Like ecstasy. And you realize that that's what we actually are. And that's why this hate has always been put upon us to stop, because the system knows that once that happens, it's game over for them. Because the system is, like I said earlier, a demonic force, and love kills this force. As many people that research about demons say that love destroys them. And that's why I've seen even David Icke say it, and he researched this stuff for years. He's talking about the same thing, when he says reptilians, but it's just that there's no form really. Everything's energy, and he's talking about the same thing I'm talking about. And this force, love, kills them. That's why they're so desperate to keep this energy going. But it can't, you see. That's why people around the planet have been having unexpected spiritual awakenings. I found this out a few years after my unexpected awakening. I started to look up the internet to see what it was. And then I realised that there was a spiritual awakening, happening on the planet. And you see, when you see all the people in fear and in craziness, that's a symbolic reflection of how frightened the system is. The sheeple are actually a mirror of the system. Right? They've bought into the system, and they're acting how the system is basically feeling as well. Why else do you think the system would want to control you? Right? To have an agenda, there's got to be a reason. The only reason one has an agenda is because they're frightened of something. What they're frightened of, I know now, because this awakening has showed me that we are infinitely limitless in our power. And the power is love. It's not someone flying in the sky. I mean, that doesn't help anyone. It's not someone that can do things that other people can't do. But it's connecting all as one love. And helping people to realize that the power is love. And within that heart center is that love. And that power is God. And that's how you connect with God. That's the real miracle. And then you'll realize that we're all, like I say, once you're going through that and living from your heart center, you realize all is one. I am you, you are me, we are one. And I'm just going to leave it there. And if you want to check latest updates, you can visit my website, which is www.lovelightfamily.com. Thank you for watching.